So our first use case is about data enrichment. And gosh, I remember a time when data enrichment was hard to do, that there was, vendors like, I don't know, Dun and Bradstreet and Hoover's, and even, I worked at Salesforce, there's data.com, and some of this stuff was integrated, some of it was actually really hard to integrate. There's just more sources out there, and there's a lot of valuable data floating around for companies to make use of. And so for AdRoll, what they were looking at was, they were using a couple different data vendors like Clearbit and BuiltWith, and they have a very large data set sitting in Salesforce, pretty large sales team as well. And so what they did with Trey is they integrated those different data sources into their CRM to make sure that they're enriching 650,000 opportunities weekly. And they're bringing in really valuable attributes like website rankings, things that are very custom to the AdRoll business. And I'll just say if you don't know AdRoll is in the retargeting advertising space. They've rolled out a prospecting tool, an ABM tool. It's a really good platform. We're also a customer of AdRoll, and I'm a big proponent of their technology. But they're a big company. They're 700 plus people, and they really need to make sure that their salespeople are focused on the right leads at the right time. And by automating the data enrichment process and the lead routing process, the end result that they saw was that sales team appointments were up 13%. So this is when you're operating on that scale, 13% improvement is a big deal. So let's pass this over to Andrew to see what this workflow looks like in general.
Cool, thanks, Alex. So we're just going to show you how to do a quick enrichment of your entire Salesforce database using the Trey platform. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So essentially the way Trey works at the core is we can pull all of the records from any service that you wish to connect to the platform. We process each record individually. So let's see, Salesforce demo. So we're able to process each record individually. So we can there's a couple ways that you can choose to have this processing set up. We can do scheduled triggers, which is kind of like an ETL type operation where we can do batch jobs every night, every week, every month, anything you specify. We can consume kind of a real-time event stream that's coming in from your service. So as soon as records change, if you think that change indicates that there needs to be some type of enrichment call or a data movement to another connected service, or even a notification to one of your employees, you can choose a service trigger. So, if we chose the Salesforce trigger here, we would say maybe listen for when a new opportunity is created and move it through this enrichment algorithm immediately when it's created. But for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to use a manual trigger. It's a once and done type trigger, so you can click it, run all your logic, and you're finished. So to start off, we're going to pull all records from our Salesforce account so that we can process each one. For this example, I'm going to use leads because we have email address on the lead record, and I'm going to use email address to pass in. But a key here is we are able to pull from any custom object at any custom fields within Salesforce. So if you have a specific configuration that's unique to you and no one else, we'll have no problem pulling all of your records. At this point, we're going to add our Salesforce authentication. To authenticate your service, there's no fancy, you don't have to spin up anything on your own. You just click this new authentication button, choose production or sandbox, name it something that's specific to you. Click next, and you're presented with a normal Salesforce login window where you enter your normal credentials or the credentials to your custom domain if you're doing a test instance or anything else. So I'm going to exit out of this because I already have an authentication in mind. So I'm just going to select one that's existing. You can see I have a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find all records in my account. The record type is going to be lead. And this automatically queries your Salesforce instance. So this record is dynamically populated. So if you were to add a record type to your Salesforce, all you'd have to do is hit refresh this list, and it would immediately be available for selection. So we're going to choose all leads, we're going to bring back a few fields from the lead. So these fields are used for processing later in the flow. So if you want to pass the email address to something like Clearbit, you'll pull back the email. If you want to pull back something like created date, you'd pull back the created date. So say you wanted to say, if the created date was X, and I want to compare it to today, so this lead has been sitting in our system for this amount of time, I want to add them to a specific type of campaign, right? That's where the use comes for pulling back fields like this. For other types of queries, you could add a condition. So you could say, if you only want to pull a subset, so once again, we could use a created date where the created date is greater than today, or sorry, within a month of today. It would be very easy to set up that condition right here to pull a subset. For the example, we're just going to go ahead and pull all. At this point, we're going to loop through each of the records. So we're going to process each lead individually, and this is really useful because some of the Salesforce out of the box, some of the out of the box integrations will essentially create a batch and process the whole batch as a single instance. And we've had a lot of people come to us recently and say, hey, if I have one record fail in this batch, it kills the entire batch and I don't get any data. But Trey can break down the batch and process it piece by piece. And if there's a point of failure, such as a bad API response or something like that, we have a retry cadence that we follow. So we'll go ahead and either alert you that that record didn't process, store somewhere specific, or just retry until the API becomes available again. So we're going to name this loop leads. So we're going to pass each lead into Clearbit for this. Maybe we could pass them into built with too. I don't know what services, it depends on what services you're using. Actually, hold on. I don't think I have access to that personally in my account. I don't have a built with account. So let's just do our Clearbit authentication here. We're going to do enrich person and company by email. So you see you pass in an email address directly from the loop. So here you see this is the kind of standard output that comes from the Clearbit call. So we're trying to enrich a number of employees, social handles, company information, a bunch of geographical information and whatnot. So we'll do an enrich. And then at this point, all we have to do is update the record back into Salesforce. So, there's a lot of different data that comes out of Salesforce. I believe, all we have to do here is essentially update the record that you're currently processing. So let's make sure we're pulling back the record ID up here. Lead ID. Update the lead. This, and then so that we're going to update record of type lead. The record ID is going to come in from here, and then the record fields are anything that you get from Clearbit. So we can choose any field that's on the lead. So if I had something like address, I can map in any value that comes from this Clearbit call. So it's as easy as scrolling through it, selecting the specific piece of information you want to update. And here I have, say I want location. We'll say that's address for this. You can add as many of these as you want, and now you have a lead that is fully enriched. Say we wanted something like company size, right? We pass that in from Clearbit as well. I think it's called employees. Wherever that is, there's a lot of data here. But essentially what we do is pass in employees. And then we could say, we could take conditional logic from there and say, if the enrichment call returns a certain number of employees that we're targeting, we can do additional logic like moving it into a specific Marketo or outreach campaign. It's really cool how we can kind of start applying these steps and just branching out now that we have this enriched data and just taking automated actions from there.